Hold up a sec. This sucks? Yeah, who would have thought that when you suck all of the love and care out of your game and replace it with something entirely different and worse, people don't fucking love it very much. Chapter 5 has always been a bit of a dark age in my memories of Fortnite, and it seems that enough time has passed for Fortnite fans to reconsider its quality. It would seem as though the community has decided that this season isn't actually so bad after all, but I'm tired of the revisionism. Before we start, I would just like to say that while I personally have a lot of problems with the season, you shouldn't feel bad if you like it. Like what you like. Just hear me out before you make another TikTok edit claiming this is a top 3 season. I mean, I like Primal, so there's very clearly something wrong with me. We can agree to disagree, that's fine. So pull up a chair, you're probably already in one. I'd like to remind one and all why Chapter 5 Season 1 is worse than you remember. Chapter 5 brings a new visual identity to Fortnite, and it looks, different. The wintry boreal pines biome is definitely the strongest area on this map. Classy Courts is great, and Hazy Hillside is great, even if it is just Misty Meadows, but slightly different. But man, I just cannot stand that chaparral biome on the west coast. It's so boring and bland, and the POIs here are so samey. I mean, come on, would it kill the residents of Pleasant Piazza to throw a splash of paint onto their houses? When I'm landing here, I feel like I'm playing Warzone or PUBG. If I wanted to play PUBG, I would go and play PUBG, and if I wanted to play Warzone, I would end my life. This isn't to say that the map looks terrible. The graphics here are objectively good, but it's just so boring, and, well, I don't want to say soulless because that's a nothing criticism, but I just think that there really aren't many interesting art style decisions being taken here. The art direction shifts towards grounded realism doesn't just make the world feel really dry and bland, but it actually has a measurable negative gameplay impact. The game's colors are more muted, while the environments are loaded with extra detail, which makes everything look busier on the screen, and that makes it harder to quickly spot enemies. Also, thanks to how demanding the new visual effects are, from a technical standpoint, the game is a lot less stable in Chapter 5 than before and doesn't run as smoothly, with inconsistent frame rates and shader stuttering making the game feel super choppy at times. This was by far at its worst during intense moments like endgame circles, where having smooth performance matters the most. Having your frames drop during important fights makes the game feel unfair and less reliable. I had to play on lower graphics settings when back in Chapter 4 I could play on the highest settings without issue. Art's direction and graphics aside, the Chapter 5 map doesn't have many standout landmarks, and the locations it does have look busy but aren't actually interesting or fun to fight in. I can't say I particularly enjoyed the layout of Pleasant Piazza, and Snooty Steps just suck to play early game. Even the slightly more traditional locations like Reckless Railways just weren't hitting for me. Here we have Grand Glacier. This is a large, complex, single-building POI. Then there's Rebel's Roost. This is a large, complex, single-building POI. Then there's Lavish Lair, which is, and you won't believe this, a large, complex, single-building POI. Such variety on display here. The new moving train is super cool in principle, and I enjoyed going for a ride, but unfortunately it was really kinda useless. I mean, firstly you have to wait 3 working days for this chest to unlock, and even then it only drops a couple of blue weapons. And that's if the train hasn't already driven straight into the storm, because the railway is so far from the center of the map, the train spends half of the match in the storm, and is rarely available in the mid to late game. Honestly, I think just adding a second train going around would have made a huge difference. Still a really fun concept, don't get me wrong, and I don't think the execution is terrible, it just needs more rewarding factors. One of my favorite YouTubers, Luke the Notable, did an entire video where he exclusively dropped on the train at the start of every match, and that man was going through it. He was in copper every single game, because it's just not that great. Then of course, there's the movement. One of Chapter 5's big improvements was the introduction of new movement animations. I don't hate how the new animations look. I do think they look a little bit worse and more clunky than the old ones, but most importantly, in play, they do feel so much worse. Old Fortnite was fast and reactive. This season feels so heavy and slow and sluggish. It's really hard to describe just how much worse movement felt during the starting weeks of this season. Starting and stopping takes longer, the sprinting and climbing feel delayed, the game just feels slower and less responsive, which is frustrating. And look, I don't wish to hark on the animations for too long, because I know a lot of work went into them and I see the vision, but in Chapter 4 and prior, your character felt like they were moving with a purpose, and they needed to be somewhere ASAP, which, you know, They did. Now it feels like I'm taking a nice, leisurely stroll, which works when you're just taking a wander through the snowy forests, but is completely contradictory to the fast-paced combat gameplay of Battle Royale. I mean, they're slow and they're slow. No, seriously, can we go a little faster? But they made some improvements a couple of weeks into the season to improve movement speeds and some animations, and from there, I don't really care that much. Yeah, I still think they looked and felt better before, with the notable exception of the skydiving animation. I really like the sway of the new one, but it's hardly something I'm going to be crying about forever. I've gotten used to it. Chapter 5 Season 1 also introduced us to medallions, a new form of collectible currency that is saved to your character rather than your inventory, like materials. All of these medallions are found by beating bosses, which means they come alongside mythic weapons, and they stack to grant shield regeneration over time. This statement is about to blow your socks off. I know I've had nothing but positive things to say so far, but I don't like medallions. The medallion system gives some players big advantages early on, which completely breaks the balance of the game. Sure, they mark your location on the map, but 9 games out of 10, the best players in the lobby will hold all of the medallions, so they'll be stacking high health regeneration plus a mythic gun, which just makes them damn near unbeatable. Medallions stack strong bonuses that just make good players more strong, making late game fights less fair and more predictable. This changed the game, so winning is more about getting powerful items early on instead of surviving and playing smart throughout the match. Another one of Chapter 5's most marketable introductions is the ability to apply mods like different scopes and mags to every weapon. The weapon mod system is cool in concept, and there's been whispers of it being in development for years and years, but I just don't think it was executed well here. Weapon modding makes the game more complicated than it needs to be. Instead of easily knowing which gun is better suited to your playstyle, you have to pick up each weapon and think about the hyper-specific combos of mods attached. This makes fights harder to read and makes it more difficult to judge how strong an opponent really is. It reduces the clarity of risk and reward when choosing weapons, and the simplicity that made Fortnite's weaponry work in prior chapters. Also, no one wants to pick up a pump shotgun and see that it has a red dot sight on it. No one. Oh, you do? You're lying. Don't lie to me right now. I don't appreciate that. Some guns are way too strong with certain mods, like you've got your Striker Assault Rifles and Thunderburst SMGs which delete people, but other guns are weak no matter what. The Enforcer straight up ain't enforcing anything. I feel like skill expression really took a backseat with weapon modding. Not to mention that customizing your mods is really limited. You can only find mod benches locked behind vaults in a few POIs, so for most of the players in a match, your mods are entirely determined by luck. Fortnite already had the major element of RNG in weapon rarity and just what weapon you find, but the mods are just a whole extra layer that is super unnecessary. In terms of the weapon pool itself, you know, mods aside, this is a fine lineup. The designs of a lot of the weapons this season are really cool. They're modeled on past guns but in a new way and they look super cool, but man, it just feels so basic? Yeah, that seems like a normal amount of ammo to have. At the start of the season you have 2 very similar rifles. The Striker is faster firing, but the Nemesis really isn't that much slower. This doesn't really feel like the heavy AK equivalent here. Don't get me wrong, the Striker absolutely mogs this thing into the ground, but I feel like the Nemesis just doesn't have that oomph that made the AK feel so good to use. And I think part of that is the fact that you can just mod your Striker to make it super powerful, super accurate, super great at long range. The Hammer Pump and Frenzy Auto both feel really bad to use, but at least the Hammer Pump has the decency to not be absurdly overpowered, and the Reaper Sniper Rifle is clearly channeling the spirit of Lee Harvey Oswald because Jesus Christ, this thing is insane. Hit scan was also removed in favor of every gun having bullets drop off and travel time. Snipers have always had this, but now it's applied to every single weapon in the loot pool. There is one major benefit to this, which is that it does make it harder to be beamed by a red dot rifle from halfway across the map. But for the most part, bullet drop made fighting a lot less enjoyable, which is a huge shame because Fortnite's gunplay has historically been very good. Some of the best in modern gaming in my humble opinion, and this just made it COD. The ballistic shield really leads to some really engaging, exciting encounters here. Wow, yeah, this is so much fun. The Grapple Blade is the main new mobility item this season, and maybe this thing has its fans, but I can't lie, this is one of the weaker mobility items for me. It's pretty slow and clunky, doesn't have a crazy range or take you very far in the more open regions of the map, and the offensive attack kinda sucks. I would much prefer something like the Grapple Glove, personally. The Cluster Clinger is neat, and some later season additions like the Flowberry Fizz can make for some more fun rotations, but man, I just cannot look past the negative impact of modding and medallions on this entire weapon meta. Late game fighting feels way more frustrating this season. Players with medallions and fully modded mythic weapons have huge advantages. There aren't many good movement or rotation items, and the storm doesn't force players to move in interesting ways. Winning depends far more on getting strong items early than playing well in final moments. Wall climbing is here, except is it? This is dumb and slow, so nobody actually uses it, especially in build fighting. Oh, come on, dude, seriously? And there's like 4 spots across the entire map that actually have the ledges you can climb, so again, no one really uses it. Oh, and do not get me started on the car cosmetics, meaning we only have the same 2 boring vehicles across the entire map. You're on. However, and I'm about to say something positive here, you might want to get a notary. The new healing item quality of life changes are great. Seriously, I have nothing bad to say here. This is a straight upgrade. Progressive healing, moving while healing, I love it. Fortnite fans have this thing where they like to claim that damn near every season has a content drought. And yet, Chapter 5 Season 1 evades this accusation despite being, in my opinion, one of the only seasons to genuinely suffer from a certified content drought. After the chapter launch, you had Winterfest 2023, which had a very nice snowy map, some neat unvaults that got taken out after like 2 days because fuck me, I guess, and the reskinned catch LTM that had like 5 billion methods to get guns, so it really just turned into another standard battle royale. An entire month later, the next update added a mythic cardboard box that you couldn't even effectively use because it wasn't a common prop on the map. Hiding in it ironically makes you stand out more. The Solid Snake EMP was pretty cool though. Then the third and final update of the season added Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, which is honestly probably actually the best addition of this season. Driftboards are brought down by the weaker physics and fuel, but they're still driftboards at the end of the day, and the turtle powers were pretty fun. But that's it. That's the entire season's content. A 3-month season with only 1 update each month, and one of those updates was a mythic cardboard fucking box. Okay, there were some small unvault hotfixes between these updates, don't get me wrong, but because of the new weapon models, there really weren't opportunities to bring back many weapons. The lock-on pistol and anvil rocket launcher came back, sure, but that's really it. Oh, and who could forget the mini crash pad? In terms of new content, outside of the collabs, they added a grand total of 2 items across the entire season, and one of them was don't forget the item shops having damn near no variety thanks to the lack of skins with LEGO styles built in, and lobby tracks getting taken out back and shot because of jam tracks, which are objectively worse. Chapter 5 also updated a lot of the game user interface, most notably the locker. This is bad. I get that a locker revamp was gonna be needed with all the new cosmetic types introduced by Festival and Rocket Racing, but this UI not only looks really bad, but it's also a buggy mess. But it can't be that bad, right? I mean, I'm just complaining for the sake of complaining because I hate change. Surely there isn't a laundry list of issues to be found here that didn't exist before. Yeah, hey, what's this? All of the charm was sucked out of it in favor of the most corporate, boring iOS wannabe interface I've ever seen. The new presets feature sucks horribly. Save the World apparently doesn't exist. You can't see your LEGO skins without first selecting the LEGO Fortnite game mode. They swapped everything seemingly just to fuck with muscle memory. You can't preview your cosmetic without accidentally equipping it. And you can't even archive or favorite something without opening a drop down that doesn't even work half the time. They removed the hotkeys to interact with cosmetics like swinging pickaxes or pulling out gliders. And it's always trying to go walkies. Also, did you know that the more cosmetics you own, the worse this locker runs? Yeah, isn't that neat? Why am I getting punished for spending money on your game? Did I also mention that it looks like shit? One thing I can give this season is that the story setup here with Jones and Hope gearing up to take back Peely from the society is genuinely super interesting. I can't wait for the satisfying conclusion to this storyline. So yeah. That's pretty much my incredibly positive and loving review of Chapter 5 Season 1 Underground. If after this you still love this season, that's okay. We're all wrong sometimes. Nah, I'm just kidding. But I do think that the gameplay of Chapter 5 would have been much better suited for a brand new IP. Hey, if they're doing this whole metaverse, why not launch a smaller scale, more gritty, realistic experience alongside a vibrant, cartoony new chapter of Battle Royale? They could even use that to go into the first-person shooter genre. That is to say that I think Chapter 5's gameplay would make for a great new game from Epic, but it makes for a bad Fortnite season. There's a lot to appreciate here. To be honest, I didn't really appreciate much, but there's probably a lot to appreciate here. It's just not Fortnite. and I can't really see past that. I am by no means an OG purist, and I think that Fortnite's ability to change is one of its strongest suits. However, historically Fortnite has managed to reinvent itself time and time again whilst retaining its original identity, whereas Chapter 5 feels like it's just trying to become the competition. I don't know if Epic just wanted the game to be taken more seriously by making it less silly, but if that was the intent, I don't think it landed. I don't wish to make anybody feel bad for enjoying this season, so if this was the Fortnite for you, cherish that. I know I've complained a lot, and if this is your favorite season of all time, that's great. Seriously, believe it or not, I'm happy for you. I wish I could enjoy it beyond a surface level, but to me, Chapter 5 is a desecration of the game I love. They didn't just change one or two things, but literally everything that had made me love Fortnite in the first place. So if this season is so flawed, why do so many people hold it in such high regard today? Well, I think it partially comes down to a nice pair of rose-tinted glasses. A lot of people joined Fortnite with Season OG, making Chapter 5 Season 1 either their first proper season or their first season back on the game, so it's automatically held in higher regard by proxy. Plus, there's Christmas, and I like Christmas. Ho ho ho. Stay jolly, kids. I think what a lot of Fortnite players don't quite get is just because you had fun with your friends in a season, that doesn't make it a perfect season. Sure, Chapter 5 Season 1 does have its redeeming qualities, and at the end of the day, a big part of Fortnite's purpose is to have fun, but it's important to recognize the flaws of something you personally enjoy. For example, I played a ton of LEGO Fortnite during its launch window at the start of this very same season, and I had a wonderful time with my friends, and just exploring, having fun. I also recognize that LEGO Fortnite was a very shallow game that lacked replay value at this point. It's not a great game, but I still had a lot of fun. I had a great time. People also like to claim that Chapter 5 brought a lot of new players into Fortnite, which just isn't true. Season OG brought a lot of players back into the game, who then stuck around for Chapter 5 mostly because of the LEGO Fortnite game mode. That doesn't make Chapter 5 itself great. It just happens to come right after a season that was great for the game's health. There's a reason that more than 50% of the players that came back were gone a month into the season. But there's a narrative growing that Chapter 5 Season 1 was somehow the best season of Fortnite, and I just don't get it because it's so far removed from everything that this game is. And I'm not someone who just enjoys old Fortnite because it's old. I'm not trying to be different, just trying to point out the flaws that others will overlook. Then again, this is the Peter Griffin season, and I love Peter Griffin. Family Guy is very funny. I love watching Family Guy funny shorts and laughing when Peter makes the reference. Did you know that the bird is the word? Back on 74? Wow! Chapter 5 Season 1 really was the best season of all time. Don't forget to come back next week for the Myths and Mortals review where I go, man, f*** this game.